Welcome to the Astroflower reading for the month of September. This is going to be a general reading followed by a reading for each sign. So basically, and according to how the general reading goes, as it were, to sort of try and help you get the best out of life when at the same time interacting with everybody else. Because the problem is sometimes we can get caught up in our own stories so much that we forget that we're actually living in a world around us. So this is how to sort of best put yourself within that sort of frame of mind, or that sort of scope of collectively building something together. Right, let's just get into the monthly reading. Let's see what the overall energy is for September for everybody. Okay, that's really quite big. Okay, it looks like it's going to be very busy on the in the front here of the Astroflower. You've got, this is where your here and now is, your interaction with the world around you, your subconscious, and that conversation that's sort of within you, combined with that overall energy flowing through and how it's influenced, that overall energy, by your karmic path, your guides, and the universe. So you're getting a really big, very sharp wave in September. It looks like it's going to be coming at the beginning part mainly of the month. And then we have, so it comes down into where your guides are, and they're influencing that overall energy combined with your karmic messages. It's a calm wave, so it's not, I wouldn't even really call it a wave. I'd more like call it a ripple into a ripple of what's coming from behind as well, between two waves. Because the front one, although it's very vertical, the back one here, which is coming through from your karmic messages, or the karmic message for the earth, as it were, and how our sort of ancient cultures and our heritage is sort of trying to influence that sort of karmic message or karmic path for us to go into. Because this back wave here is really, it's as tall, but it seems to be a lot wider. So it seems to be going into October in a way. So this first initial thing is going to be like a shock, I think, in the 1st of September, from the beginning of September. There's going to be a shock situation going on, where I think it appears to be down to realization, where people will have a real dull moment. Oh, yeah, right. And it's a realization of the collective as well. So it seems to be a very quick, sharp, instant moment for everybody in the world. Or even if you're not directly connected to it, and we're probably not, the majority of people will not be connected to it directly. So it could be an event in the world that everyone's kind of looking at as if to say, where did that come from? And that's the sort of scenario there. And then this section here, this midsection here, is this calm and almost ripple effect, as I said. And then coming to the end of September, then you've got that much more solid, powerful wave that's almost bigger than the first one. This is quite funny because leading up to this, I was looking at the weeklies, and the last week that came out, which leads us up to the end of August, was mainly Temperance, Knight of Cups, Wheel, Tower, Chariot, Fool, and Six of Wands. So it seems like there's this Tower moment that's building in a lot of signs. And I say a lot of signs, I think it got pulled out six times, the Tower and the Chariot. It's a turning point, it seems, for a lot of things and realizations, basically, in life. That Temperance card and that Knight of Cups that came in a lot of times, so we're looking at 5 times. That's more sort of kind of going, be patient, look at the gifts that or the possibilities after that Tower and Chariot moment that comes through. And then it's got the Fool and the Six of Wands. So there is this whole sort of leap of faith into something, into a new world, maybe into a new dimension where success is possible, and it's a success in a collective sense. Can you imagine if, you know, money was not an object, and therefore stealing wouldn't really be worthwhile unless someone had something that you wanted and stuff like that? Yeah, it could fall into sort of lawlessness. I'm a lawless, but I don't consider myself like that as a lawless person. As something with that carries that name from Ireland. I look at it as that we don't need laws in order to, control or conduct the way I act. I already know naturally the laws within me that are installed by nature, so I don't really need those sort of laws, and I don't need to steal off another person because it's only stealing off myself. At that point there, we don't have to lock doors, we don't have to do loads of stuff, you know. And if that's not the case, that, you know, there's no money left, then, you know, it's all of a sudden there's a lot more things that become possible in our evolution. So I think it's sort of teeing us up to, is looking in the weeklies, teeing us up to this sort of Tower moment that's coming through, and it seems like it's going to come through really, really quickly. And as it comes through, it's going to clear away a lot of stuff with that Tower. And we've just got to, don't jump on the first thing. Just take it easy. Observe what's going on, how to position yourself afterwards, what sort of pathways to take. And that's that Knight of Cups. Because there's a lot of things in the offering, basically. Let's see what the overall energy is for the collective. I whittled on a bit. I do apologise. Everything hits a double-edged sword, so it's like a yin and yang. So you've got to understand that there's both sides. It's like the cards when you put them upright and when you put them inverse. I only pull uprights on this simply because it can make it all very confusing for a lot of people watching. So I only read uprights. So it seems like here is like there's a unification, possible unification coming together, and I don't think it's a unification through an object. It's a unification through a sense of living, of how we should live, basically. Oh, there's two that want to come out, and this is that double-edged sword I was talking to you about. Okay, so this unification can be, obviously, it can unify us into hate, I guess. You know what I mean? We saw that in wars gone past. But I don't feel it's like that. You know, the people that I know around me, no one wants to fight anybody. Everyone wants to just explore the possibilities of what we can do in this universe. It'd be amazing. And I think this is this whole sort of thing of wishing for a dream here. And in order to do that, you've got to walk away from something. You've got to walk away from the past. She's walking towards that sun. And in reality, she's walking towards her dreams. And walking away from something that may have served something in the past, but is no longer serving us. And I think this is what this unification thing is all about. I think for the collective, it is a moment where we can actually start to, get our stuff together without having to wait for the rest of the world or the world outside to start passing motions, laws, or whatever. You know, it's just a case of people kind of going, do you know what? We're just going to get it together. Yeah, don't worry about it. Could be really interesting. Let's see what's going on. This is the relationship side. So this is going to be the karmic message and the universal influence. And then we've got, how our ancestors are trying to, and our past selves trying to influence or guide that sort of karmic message and influence the effects of the universe upon our karmic messaging. And this is about sort of like our future self in a way that's coming, that's talking, sort of bringing us forward. So there's one sort of kind of going, yeah, gotta move, move along. That's the way you should be going. And there's one before us kind of going, hey, look what I can see over here. That sort of scenario. So let's just see what's going on in the karmic message here. lay down your swords, let bygones be bygones. It's really the end of conflict. And this is not a conflict of physical conflict. It could well be, wars could be coming to an end and stuff like that. But I also think this is because we're on the relationship side, so this is emotions and stuff like that. I don't think it's necessarily, I think wars will naturally just come to an end the moment we get it together. But I think here is just a case of, it is getting that together and just sort of kind of going, recognizing that we do all have differences. We don't think the same, and it's accepting part of it, of what the other person is sort of saying, to find a compromise. And unfortunately, we can live in that sort of compromise in a way. I wouldn't suggest it's the best thing. The best thing is full consciousness, where you actually just walk down the path and you know where you're going, good or bad. It's just the way it goes. You follow the evident path. The moment you start following that evident path, we're actually all going in the same directions. You have a part of the puzzle that I don't have, and you need to put your bit of puzzle onto that picture, so then we can all see clearly. And that's what working together. So you could be working on the top hand corner of the puzzle, and I'm working on the bottom left hand corner of the puzzle. They may be completely different, so I will not agree with you, but we can find our common ground. And I think that's what the important thing is, and I think that's what this message is coming through here. Looking at things in a different way. Totally. It's the karmic message for the month. Get it together, people. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to really enjoy it. Okay, let's just see how the universe is influencing that karmic message. I think the universe is going to clear up a lot of stuff. So you may be influenced by, say, like advertising or sort of money or sort of songs and stuff like that. And that comes from the human outside. It doesn't necessarily come from the universe, because there's reasons behind all of that. And here the universe is kind of sort of saying, well, it's almost as if they're going to take the universe is kind of like pull the plug on the illusion side and kind of go, okay, look, this is the reality, and really plug us in. The Hierophant, seeing things in a different way. Look at this. Look, you've got the star there. She's walking towards the sun. You've got the star there. The star's coming out of the hangman's third eye, as it were. They're looking at things in a completely different way. The Hierophant, this is the quality, almost like a religious sort of thing. It's going through stages and gradually learning things based upon the understandings of what we've done before. And this is where our ancestors are really important. We shouldn't just dismiss past movements, regardless of whether you agree with them or not. We should acknowledge that they exist. And it helps us to actually have that clear line towards that star. Look at the star there has got that bent sort of, obviously it's on a string, as it were, or a string of light. And the Hierophant has actually got understanding to get there. So although we might be, the overall energy is sort of kind of going, wow, it's amazing. The universe is actually kind of sort of saying, now let's put some things in place where you can get to that moment of elation and feeling full consciousness within you without having to bypass, use the outside world. You can just do it with your own energy, which would be really amazing. And it will make you see things in a completely different way and make you walk that evident path. Because that's what we got to do, people. There's no getting away from it. We can jump and dance and clap our hands to songs and go to the cinemas and everything like that, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm not saying it's not, but at the same time, we do need to live our path. We've been hanging around a bit too long. Although the hangman is different sort of thing. Anyway, let's get back into how our ancestors in the past are trying to sort of like, what sort of led us to this sort of situation, or how because we're all part of that past. It's really weird. They're showing me sort of like the creation of cars and stuff like that. Now I'm getting sort of knights, and so there's a lot of past stuff, but it's there's been this progressive notion of power and position, and it's driving to the point, it's driving to that star, that happiness, because at the same time we have had we've had human rights movements, there's loads of different changes socially, morally within our society over the last 100 years, let alone the rest, and I think it's dovetailing the two. And I think here is sort of kind of saying you've got to move from those dreamy, lofty ideas into concrete ways of putting them into place. And that's where the guides have been trying to sort of help us out. With the Page of Wands, it's having that childlike energy of it, seeing something and kind of going, oh, what's this? Without making any judgments about it, just trying to understand it. And once you can understand it, then you can maybe use it or say, no, better leave that alone. So it's that childlike sort of thing of sort of saying, yeah, observe your past history. And there's some things we shouldn't be doing anymore, like warring and maybe driving around all the time. Maybe sharing will be a lot more fun. It's a complete change in the way we do society. It sounds distinctly like like certain plans that have been forced upon the entire world, but at the same time, if you want to control a greater group, you've got to give them certain things that they have in common. That's the way it goes. If you can galvanize that common ground, then at that point there, you could then lead the groups holding that common ground. So I think this is changing now. I think the common ground is becoming very much blurred. And because it's becoming very much blurred, it's making us a little bit like children again, and acting a little bit like children in the worst case scenarios as much as the best case scenarios. It's that yin and yang factor. So our ancestors are sort of saying, don't forget where you've come from and take only the things that are worth and will serve the greater good, as it were. Will serve everybody. So, this transition is going to take a little bit of time, but that's why they're trying to sort of like encourage us to move on to. Let's just see how the guides are sort of like, and this is in a relationship side, so on the emotional sort of side, and it's talking about, past sort of experiences in the human race. And every culture has those past experiences, good and bad. And it's just realizing what are the good things about each thing, each culture that brings those things together in a global culture. It doesn't necessarily, we're going to find some common ground, but not necessarily all of it. Okay, let's just see here here in the future, how they're pulling us forward. This is where the letting bygones be bygones sort of scenario, and it's you can't forgive the past, and I wouldn't forget it either, because it will help you and serve you going forward as a collective. If you can realise that thing there was not a good thing, good aspect of the human race, therefore we don't need to do that in the future. But don't forget it, and don't forget what we felt about it, because otherwise we'd have to learn that lesson again, and that's probably the thing that's been holding us back. And here they're really trying to encourage us to sort of say, move on with getting together on a common path, on an evident path, which has globally a collective direction. If your direction was, let's say, everybody has to wear blue hats, for example, then or someone might say I like light blue, and other people will say I like dark blue, but that doesn't matter as long as it's blue, as it were. And if everyone can agree on that, then we can just move on. And in relationships, it's learning to talk to people, learning to listen to their side, even if you don't agree with them, and being able to express your side of things. And people will find where they're supposed to be and at the time they're supposed to be in it. I think this is after the event of that high wave going in there, that disappointment in a way, that sort of withdrawal of society, sort of saying, well, if you're going to be like that, that means I'm going to be like that. And this could be that detrimental sort of ripple wave that comes through it in a way. But I think it's good if we sort of like start recognizing that we do have common ground between us. And nobody likes to see other people injured, really. That's the general common ground. There is some people who do, but then they're, you know, the minority that is so small that actually, you know, then, you know, it's a case of kind of saying, well, you know, this is the collective. We don't do that. You should know that. You don't have to do it. I don't have to tell you. Yeah. Yeah. It's a big, long debate that I think the world has to go through, and exposing those emotions is almost, because it came upside down, that, and I said I didn't read upside down cards, and it did come upside down. But what that was saying to me is like, let's put it upside down, blast it. I think that wands as well was a bit upside down as well. But anyway, we're going to put it in there. The Four of Cups is like sort of saying to me is, you know, here is sort of saying the worst thing you want to do is be that child of kind of go, well, I'm not going to speak to you, or, you know, I'm going to shout louder than you. That's really childish. It's just a case of kind of recognizing when you get working with energy, you get these conscious conversations. So the energy sort of like builds up in people as the idea comes through them and is getting filtered through all their chakras. And eventually they say their idea, and then at that moment there, everybody else's energy is a little bit calmed down, and it leaves the space for each person to speak consciously. And at that point there, we realize we're all putting, you know, bits of puzzle in a jigsaw. And, you know, that's what we're doing. And if we could do that in a conscious way, that would be really nice. It would certainly make evolution really, really quick. And I think evolution on the physical sense, you're watching this reading on a device. So that's an evolution, you know, is that a good device? The way we use it may be in discussion, but is it a good device? I'm using it to do this reading. So, you know, it all connects together. Let's just see how it goes on the physical sort of front. On the material front. It's strange, they're sort of showing me things that don't exist as yet. Really weird. It's like there's new inventions coming through. That's in the second wave, and that's what we should be building through. And it's almost as if like this common understanding, that's what the karmic message is that there's a real step forward in technology, or there's a real step forward in physically the way we do things. Yeah. Queen of Cups. That's really nice. You know, it's when you get that consciousness, you do feel like you've got that eternal love, as it were. Because every part of your body is working in a really good rhythm with one another. And then all of a sudden, that's when we feel at one with ourselves. And when we feel at one with ourselves, that's when we can radiate that magnetic field, which we call our aura. And this is what the Queen of Cups is doing. She's sitting clearly in her motions, but her emotions come halfway up as she's sitting in the emotions. comes halfway up, and how she converts it into a very air sort of scenario. So it's very mental, it's very tangible, as it were, within the consciousness of people that are around them. So then that's where they spread their love. It's very joyous, and when someone does do that, they're untouchable. You know, they really are. You really are untouchable, and it's society will have to adapt and develop after that. So it's a case of here is realizing this sort of, maybe that's that new technology of the emotions that, or the person is being connected to. It could be Elon Musk's thing, you know. Is that a good idea or not? You leave a comment in the description below. I've got my own ideas, but I'm not going to go into it now because we'll be here for days. But anyway, it's a case of, also, you could look at it this way, is connecting your consciousness to the greater consciousness rather than connecting your consciousness to Elon Musk. There's a real clear-cut choice at the moment, and it's becoming more and more defined. And I think this is what the universe is pushing through here at this present second. And you can't flinch away from what is happening. And as you do, if you don't flinch away from what is happening, be very childlike, kind of going, wow, that's mad. Why would you do that? That's really horrible. You know, but rather than sort of like kind of going, why are you horrible? Do you know what I mean? I think that's keeping calm and carrying on in a way, and recognizing what is beneficial and what is detrimental. So yeah, this is on the physical side. This is concerned with jobs and materials, projects, countries, you know, that sort of thing, physical sort of thing. How the universe trying to influence this. And I said they were pulling out the plug on a lot of these sort of things, but it could mean as well that this, you know, this general vibration can open up the doors to new technology. It's just how far do we want to go? I guess all the way. And why would you not? Is that not the exploration of consciousness, to go all the way and become pure energy? It does come true. There is a sort of rock thing here. It's sort of saying, it's almost like a marker, sort of saying this is it. There's no emotions coming through this section here. The influence is being blocked, as it were. Okay, so as I said, there's a rock here, and the influence is being blocked, and that all on that side is the Queen of Cups, which we have on that side. So it is it's the universe has got us to here, and now they're sort of saying you've got to take a leap of faith. The universe doesn't have to, but us as collective humans, we do have to. So that's on that sort of side of things. Let's just see what's going on with how our past is trying to influence us. There's two things coming through. As I said, there's a lot of double-edged swords to all of this. One is going from it's like an exponential sort of speed sort of thing. And that, I think that's to do with evolution in the sense of material wealth, sort of like the Industrial Revolution and stuff like that. You know, those sort of like amazing strides that humans have done, regardless of whether you think it's good or bad, over the last sort of like 250 years. And that doesn't seem to want to stop. But it's also, there is another side to it, which is this side of consciousness, of free-flowing energy or free-flowing thought, and not allowing one side to get too far ahead of the other. It's trying to connect those two sides. It's almost like you know, you've got a car and you've got a lovely mountain stream, and it's trying to put those two things in the same place without any detriment to either. It's it's going to take a lot of clairvoyancy in a way, sort of like, you know, meditation and being really clear about ourselves, about how we really want to go and where we want to lead to. This September is a real. There's a lot to unpack. I think a lot to unpack in September. Let's see how we've been pulled on in advance. This is where they're encouraging this Eight of Cups to walk away from and walk to with the Star as well. This is where the unification comes into place, I think. And in order for that has to happen is maybe the emotional side as being a little bit more sort of detached. So on the physical side, we can actually really start getting together physically, you know. Yeah. Well, we got the Four of Cups on one side, we got the Four of Wands on the other. Going from one dimension to another, celebration, absolute joy, happiness. I think this is really possible for the human race. It's a real thunderbolt moment where everyone just kind of goes, it's not just a light bulb moment, it's a thunderbolt moment where everyone's kind of going, what do we do with that? Wow. That's amazing. Okay. And, oh, look at that. What's coming up? Look what we can do. We've got all this space around us now. We've got rid of all the preconceptions and ideas and illusions in the world. And now we can see clearly. The rain has gone. So, yeah, it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. So let's just see what's going on in the outcome of this. And it's almost of how it's your here and now, your present is connecting to the world. And as it connects to the world, how it's creating its proper future. It's going to be quick. And this is where your consciousness will come into play and meditation and stuff like that. So as things change really quickly around you, you're going to be able to sort of keep a little bit of your eye on the longer term plan. So there might be things that you need to react to very quickly to get in your life. But at the same time, you've got to know what you want to bring in order to create that beautiful thing in the future. So running after a lot of things may not actually help you to get to where you're going. And it's knowing that within your meditation, so then you can act very quickly. And I think this comes to the Temperance card, because the Temperance card is a little bit sort of, it's all about sort of timing, really, knowing when to put your foot on the accelerator. It's quite a very, very powerful card, like the Hierophant. And it'd be quite interesting to see if that did actually come up at the end there, because you've got the Hierophant at the bottom. And it is like this transitional sort of moment as well, the Temperance as well. Amazing. It seems like September is going to be a real humdinger, people. So yeah, it's knowing when to be fast as the world is changing around you fastly, is that word? Or faster. But knowing when those moments to be calm. And that's that double-edged sword again, you know? Now, if that wasn't a message, I don't know what is. So, sorry, that was probably really loud. So that's the messages coming in from the universe. And I think this is a month where you've got to be like kind of going, yep, that's for me. I need to do that. And you get involved in the outside world. You do your paperwork. You do whatever you need to do to gradually get down that path of walking away from maybe a lot of the stuff that we've had to deal with over the last 50, 60, 70, 100 years, maybe even longer than that. And really moving on and listening to the whole time is having that capacity to listen to those clear messages that is your longer plan. that is our collective future, that you are part of as much as I am part of, as much as everybody else is part of. And the moment we can do that, I think we're all going to be winners. So there you go, the collective, the Astroflower collective. I will be doing pulling cards for each individual sign, which will be coming up in the moment. If you've already got this far, thank you very much for your patience, or thank you very much for listening through. Yeah, if you want to know about the Astroflower, there's loads of links in the description below. Please, go down below and you'll find your links to your books and your Astroflowers, and also to our sister channel, Somatic TV, and also to any sort of personal readings that you might want to do. Don't forget, life should be fun, so please do enjoy.